When my grandfather passed away, I was a little girl. And my grandfather served in the United States Navy. When he died, he wanted a sea burial, and he had an honorable United States Navy burial at sea. I was too young to go, but my mom and her sisters went, and they had a camcorder and they recorded, and I remember seeing the video. And then they gave us a plaque and a piece of a ship, a boat that he had worked on during his Navy career. He was honorably buried at sea by the United States Navy. When my father died, he said he wanted to be cremated. He did not want to be buried. He made us promise not to put him in the earth. And he asked us to spread his ashes. He wanted to be one with the sea and with the land. And so I went with his ashes to an island, and I stood on a beach, overwhelmed with my grief. And I spoke to the water, because my daddy was a water sign. And I asked the water to come and call home their son. That he was a man who loved the water. He was a fisherman. He found his most peace at Mama Water. And a wave came out of nowhere, and it crashed on the rocks. And the water dripped down the rocks and created a pool that went in a half circle past me and flowing back into the sea. And so when I saw that, I said, okay, I see where to leave the ashes. And I talked to my dad, and I said the words that I needed to say, and I said the prayers that I needed to say to our ancestors. I said the words that I needed to say to the spirits of the water. And I asked them to send another wave. And I poured Daddy's ashes in the same path that I had seen the water flow. And then I watched the sea roll back and roll back again. And I watched the water turn white as it rushed toward the shoreline. And I watched the water crash into the rocks and flow down the rocks into the same semicircle pattern. And I watched the water carry his ashes, his bones. Not his ashes, his bones. And I watched his bones become one with the sand and the sea. And I cried, and I released, and I gave thanks. So when I read this, and I understand exactly what my now ancestors were requesting me to do, I find it honorable, even though I had to do it by myself because my sisters ain't shit, they're horrible people, and I had to get the hell away from them to save myself. I find it honorable that I was able to stand in the authority of my ancestral flame and to continue the pattern of returning my people to the sea and to the sands, to the land. Not to co-create with the gridlocks that have been created to trap soul frequency and energy memory. I returned my ancestral memory to the land and to the sea. We used all the elements: fire, earth, water, and air.